Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I'm excited to talk about a not guilty in a murder case. It's really good when the system works in the behalf of someone, one of its citizens. And it also takes a fantastic lawyer. So the fantastic lawyer that I have in the studio tonight is Tyrone Moncriffe. He's one of the best. He knows all about murder cases. And when all of us in the courthouse have a murder case, I don't care how long we've been trying them, we're going to always ask Tyrone for his opinion. So Tyrone, thank you for coming tonight to share your client's story.
My pleasure to be here, Viv.
So Tyrone is here, and he has his client with him who survived going through the Harris County criminal justice system with some of the finest prosecutors in the country. We have Brandon Woods. Brandon Woods was charged with murder. He was offered a plea bargain of 60 years. He did not have, he has no prior criminal record. However, he was about to take a plea. He was about to take a plea for 60 years, hoping they would just give him 40 years. For murder, when in fact he hired a great lawyer who investigated the facts of the state's case and told him, man, you have a legal defense that's in our Texas Penal Code. You have the right to defend yourself and you have the right to defend others, meaning your children. And so Tyrone, introduce this case and why it's such an important case for people in the community to know about.
This is an important case because it kind of gives you the genesis. Viv, you and I always tell our clients not to talk to the police after an exciting or eventful incident like this. It tells you why you shouldn't talk to the police in an excited state. And what I'd like to do is let him get right into the facts and talk about what happened, Brandon. Maybe we can kind of let the audience see your story.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And thank you, Mr. Moncrieffe, for putting in so much work for me to be here today.
Amen.
It's normal weekend routine, going around, visiting my grandmother, godparents, people in the neighborhood who are older, some of the elders that I visit quite frequently. This particular time, this one lady, she kept asking to see my children, and I brought my children to see her. We kind of played in the yard for a little bit until this guy walked.
Brandon, let the audience know how old your kids are too, so they can sort of.
My son is 2 years old, and at the time my daughter was 7 years old. And so
basically you have some little kids with you.
Yes,
kids
ma'am.
who can't take care of themselves, who can't stay home alone, and a 2-year-old who has to still be in a car seat.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Okay.
And so we were playing, and the guy walked in the yard, and he started asking me some questions, and I answered his questions, and it was at that point he just became irate. And so I said, you know what, I'm finna get out of here. I told my kids, let's go. I put them in the car, and as I tried to go and get inside on my side of the car, he cut me off. People can't see on camera, but I am disabled, and so I walk real slow.
And your disabilities in your legs?
Yes, ma'am. Both legs. I have disability in both my lower extremities. Both of my quads are gone, and so he cut me off, and he's in my face, and of course, foul language. He's cursing, and I'm doing the best I can, the best verbal judo that I possibly can to calm him down, to get in my car just to leave, and.
I know you don't want to be profane on TV, but just give us some examples of what kind of nasty curse words he's saying to you.
Well, the words that he said to me, F you fight, F you fat B, fight, you this, you that. But the thing that kind of took it to another level is the one time that he did get out of my face, he walked over to the side of the vehicle where my children are because my windows were down. And he put his finger in my 7-year-old daughter's face, and he told her, F you, F your brothers, F your mama, I'll kill you, I'll kill your mom, and I'll kill your fat daddy. And that's what kind of took it to another level.
Yeah, because you don't know if he's armed, you don't know if he got a gun on him, you knew he was a drug dealer in the neighborhood. Most drug dealers have some type of weapons on them.
Right. And
Can I interrupt just a second,
Absolutely.
Because we've got to tell the story. A lot of this he's eliminating. It's very important so they can see the full story.
Right.
When you say verbal judo, explain to the listening audience what you mean by that.
Well, I worked in mental health care for a while, and I also worked at the Texas Department of Criminal Justice as a CO, correctional officer. And so they teach you tactics on how to talk someone down, calm them down from either a violent state or just how to calm someone down. And nothing I was doing was working. You know,
What were you doing? So,
Well-
because you told the jury this, but it's important that the audience know it too.
the first thing you try to assess the person. You try to find out what type of mental status that they're in. And so you try to use a calming voice and keep your hands down where the person can see you. And you're using a calm sort of voice. And also with me, because I'm a big guy, I've been taught to turn myself sideways to not look so imposing. You know, it's like if I'm standing at you like this, it's like I'm still a threat. But if I have my hands cuffed and I have my side turned, well, I'm not a direct threat to you. And so you do the calm, and then you do the firm, and then you do the bold, like, hey, you know. So I went through all three cycles several times, again, with the goal of getting in my car, driving away. And also in my mind, I have my firearm on me. I'm a concealed handgun license holder. I've been doing private security for several years. I've never had to pull my weapon or let alone discharge my weapon.
And you've worked at the prison.
Yes, ma'am.
How many years did you work at the prison?
5 years.
And he knows you have the gun on you.
And out of his own mouth, he said, I know you have that gun on you. I don't care. You ain't gonna do nothing with that gun.
Wow.
My response to that was, well, this gun is not for you. This gun is to protect me and my family from any and all threats. So as long as you're not a threat, don't worry about this gun. Just let me get in my car and leave. Inching forward until he couldn't inch anymore. He's spitting, his eyes are red, his breath is smelling like alcohol. And I say, listen, I'm finna go. Just let me leave. Just let me leave. Let me get in the car with my kids and leave. Man, F them kids. I took a step around him, and that's when he started bombarding me with punches.
Wow.
To keep myself from stumbling and falling down, because again, my legs buckle. I pulled my firearm and I discharged it. He fell. I walked over. Of course, he was laying there, and you know, it's rough to talk about that part.
Right.
And so
Right.
he's laying there. I immediately pull out my phone. I'm calling him, trying to get him to respond. He's unresponsive. By the time the emergency dispatcher answered, I say, hey, we need an ambulance and police his stat. You need to get somebody's stat. Get someone his stat. It's been shots fired, and you need to get someone here because it's an emergency. And so
Wow.
the police pulled up.
What did you do with the gun before the police got there?
I took my gun and I placed it in the trunk of my vehicle
Okay.
because I didn't want to have my gun on me after I just called in, because I know the police don't know.
Who's the bad guy
Yeah,
Right.
They don't know who the aggressor is, and I'm not going to have a gun in my hand.
when the police show up?
Right.
Right.
So I set it in the trunk of my vehicle, and I closed my trunk, and I waited for the officer. And it was no aid that I could render at that time.
Right, because you have a disability, so you can't get on the ground.
Well, I can't get on the ground. That's all the way correct. And also, my children are my priority.
Right.
You know, my children were also involved in this.
Right, they're seeing it.
They're a part of this shooting just as much as me and the guy who was shot. All of us are a part of this shooting. My children are my priority, not me. Sad to say, not him. My children are the priority. You threatened to kill my children. They've seen you hitting on their dad. And at the same time, my face was swelling up at an alarming rate.
Where he hit you?
Yes, ma'am. My jaw was swollen. My eyes are already low, and I know my face is fat, but it was swelling up.
Could you see it on the booking
Not
photo?
really real clear because he's bigger. He's smaller now than he was. He was real big. His face is real big, so it's kind of really hard to see it.
But you felt it. You felt the pressure of it swelling up.
Well, I ended up going to the emergency room, and I was.
Now, who suggested you go to the emergency room?
Oh, I went because I couldn't bite down. I thought my jaw was broken.
When did you go? The next day?
The next day.
But that night, what time of night did this happen?
This
or
was
day?
in the daytime. This was about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
And so, so what happened once the ambulance or fire department got there? What happened next?
They said he's unresponsive. There's nothing they could do. The officer asked me what happened. I told him a quick version of, from my perspective, what I saw, and then I kept complaining about my face is hurting, my jaw is hurting. Man, the EMT looked, and they really didn't tend to me. There's the guys on the ground, I'm definitely not blaming EMT because I can understand. So,
Right.
this priority is this guy on the ground versus my face. That's nothing right now. It was started to become a massive scene out there. A lot of people in the community were arguing. Some people were arguing for me.
Let's stop for a minute. This guy was a gang member,
Yes.
and some of the gang members were coming up,
Right.
Right.
and that's why they had to get you out of there, right?
Yes, sir. They were running up to the police car, trying to punch at the police car. And
What?
talking about they're going to kill me or I'm going to be raped in prison. Those
Oh,
type
wow. Oh, wow.
of things.
So were they out there when this happened? The altercation happened. Did anybody out on the street see it?
One guy said that he told several stories.
He was half drunk. And
Yeah.
he didn't see it all. He didn't see it.
He said he was asleep or he was drunk and he was high, and then he saw it all in court.
Right. He didn't see anything.
About a year and a half later, he saw it all.
So he know the whole story in court. So, and so these guys, they started coming from the store, and by that time the police were there, and so he put me in the back of the car. Man, he didn't cuff me or anything. He could tell he was looking at me walking, so I know he didn't want me to fall. So he just put me in the car, and they started circling. They started having a big scene. People were arguing for me. People were arguing for him. And finally a supervisor showed up. They switched me vehicles, took me up to Travis, and I gave a statement because where I come from, not where I come from, but in my mind, I've never had a problem with the police department. I've, to the fullest, trusted the police, to be honest with you. I've never had run-ins with officers, brutality or anything like that. I guess I'm thinking like most common citizens. You get pulled over, you show your license and insurance, you answer the officer's questions, and you go on. Career criminals know not to say anything. Novice,
Not really.
No,
Not the ones we
Not the ones I
I would
represent.
think they would. After one time, I
That's
don't
the problem. Most people make assumptions. No, the
Right,
people
right.
they've been in jail 10 times and they
Still
still
go talk.
still talk to the police.
If I get pulled over for a seatbelt ticket, I have nothing to say except here's my license, here's my insurance, where you going? Here's my license and my insurance. Call Mr. Moncrieffe.
Right.
So, a couple of days later, I got the call that they were looking for me. They had raided my grandmother's home looking for me. She called. What was so peculiar about that is I was in contact with the detective all that day, and I was telling him where I was, but they still.
Want to go mess with your grandmother's house.
They raided 7 officers. My grandmother's 77. My great aunt's 89. Now they went to my wife's home. My mother-in-law. It was a lot of children there, and I was where I told him I was.
Which is where?
I was at my mom's house on the southwest side. I called a bail bondsman. Who
Yeah.
else I called? My friend.
Yeah.
I have a friend that's a U.S. Marshal. I called him and I said, hey, they put a warrant out for me. He called and made sure it was okay, that he could.
Turn you in?
Right. And we did. I was able to post bond, and here I am.
Wow. Wow. So you had a U.S. Marshal turn you in because you just felt comfortable with him?
He was a friend.
He's
They'd
my
gone to school together.
Okay.
They'd actually gone to school together at Sam Houston.
All right,
At that point out.
our families do Sunday dinner together.
Okay.
We were
He's a
both,
good friend.
Right.
Oh yeah, we all went to Sam Houston State together. So
Went to college together.
right, we were all CJ majors together. So
Right.
big change.
Big change.
Right.
Well, since you were a criminal justice major, I guess in your mind you would feel comfortable with the police, and you would
Right.
also feel comfortable talking to the police.
Right.
But there's something about this story, I feel, that you're going to say you no longer feel comfortable talking to the police. Because, I mean, we haven't gotten that far in the story,
Right,
but it's
right.
like you said, in my mind, I'm supposed to talk to the police. So I'm just trying to figure out, but now you say even if it's a traffic ticket, you're not talking to the police.
I don't have
Do
any.
you feel like you got duped or tricked? Or, I mean, what is your feeling right now?
Yeah, I think that I got duped. I got tricked. Those are the exact words. Like,
Can I interject something
Absolutely.
here? Look,
Absolutely. And I'm going out of order with the story, but it's
can-
just that I kind of want to talk about that emotion that I'm seeing.
look, I think it wasn't the police so much as it was him. When he told that story as to what he thought happened, he was in such a
He was in shock.
excited, shocked state. He was not telling what really happened. He just thought in that moment, this is what happened.
Right.
But that's not really happened when you look at the mechanics of physically what happened.
Right. He was in such shock of what happened. He reacted, but he couldn't
Right.
regurgitate how he reacted.
He couldn't
didn't
react
know.
because, people, we look at television, we see a person get
I'd
shot.
blank out if I had to shoot somebody.
Me too,
I
but-
think I'd probably close my eyes. I mean,
Right.
I wouldn't really be able to tell.
And what's, Viv, as you know, it happens quick.
Right.
Game, it's over with.
Game on, game
Yeah,
over,
it's
right?
like- and you don't really know what happened.
Right.
So I don't think it was the police trying to dupe him so much, but this is what you told them.
well, you're right about that. And remember, he said that in court when he was asking me about the shooting. He was saying it slow.
Right.
Who was saying it slow?
The prosecutor.
Prosecutor.
And I was like, sir, in court, on your television, or when you T-bow something, the Matrix, those shootings are slow, and you know someone is being shot.
Right.
But in real life,
Right.
It happens so bad. All you do is
it's less than
React. He hit me,
Right.
I shot him.
it's
Right.
less than 3 seconds, and it's not this blood splatter. You don't know, and you're taught with your CHL, you shoot to stop.
Right.
And so that kicked in, but everything else was a blur until we were in trial, and that's when I figured out this is what happened.
Wow.
exactly. And
Wow.
it was so important, he called witnesses, but I called everybody he had gone to school with, Viv.
Gotcha.
His character witnesses. The U.S. Marshal was probably the most important witness for us because even though he was called in as a character witness, he had picked him up and took him in. But I couldn't figure out, because we hadn't got to this point yet, where he tells the police I shot him in the chest 3 times, but there are 7 shots in the back. And I couldn't figure that out. Well, how does that happen? The U.S. Marshal told me, I asked him, just talking, how can you think you shot a person one way and the bullets hit somewhere else? And he told me a story when he played baseball. And he was a youngster. He tried to play Little League baseball. Back catcher. They teach you how to,
And the back catcher is behind the batter.
one behind the batter, catching the ball.
Okay.
The ball's supposed to come directly to that glove. But sometimes the ball will skip ahead of you, and he would always, you're supposed to cup the ball. But he would always, and I'm gonna see if I can stand up for a second, and turn his back when that ball the impact would hit the ground. And then I said, that's what happened.
Right.
When this guy was hitting Brandon shot him because one shot hit the side.
Gotcha.
First shot hits him, he turns his back, and when he turns his back, all those shots were on one side of his back.
Okay.
Pattern. Okay?
All right, a close-up is great. Let's close back up on Tyrone for me, please. Thank you.
So,
finish
and that's what
talking.
happened. When he turned his back, the pattern of the shots on his back illustrated that he had shot him with a pattern and he was turning his back.
So all the shots, and if you turn around a little bit, so all the shots were right there.
Basically,
on the
one
side, in the back.
side, yeah, where he turned.
Yeah, I want the close-up on Tyrone, if you don't mind, cameraman. Put the close-up on it and turn around like just like that. So
Right.
the bullets lined up
Yeah,
on his back
lined up
right
on his
there.
back,
Okay,
all the way
right
here.
where Tyrone is. Okay, gotcha.
Right, and you could see the pattern. But
Right.
initially, when you look at that, you say, wait a minute, this guy got shot in the back. If the shots had covered his whole back, then that means he was running away. He just boom, 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 boom.
Right.
But they hit the side of him as he turned.
Right. And so they were like kind of more in a straight line.
They weren't.
Pattern, one side of his back.
One side of his back. So
Right.
that was consistent with someone who's
Shot
attacking
and
you,
then turn.
but they're turning around, and so they're trying to they're about to run now.
Exactly.
Right, but now, but they're getting shot because you're the force that you started with. You're continuing to shoot the weapon with. Okay.
Right. But as you know, Viv, being a trial lawyer is more than just the facts. We have to make the jury feel something.
Right.
There has to be some emotional commitment to connection to him.
Right.
And what I do always, a man, especially a big man like that, he may come across as imposing,
Right. Right.
aggressive. So
Right,
I had him to, when he talked about putting his kids in the car, I didn't just say, tell me, you put your kids in the car. No, I had him get up and demonstrate the boy, the 2-year-old, how did you put that 2-year-old in the car? And we had to go to the point where I made that 2-year-old appear in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Show me how you picked him up. How did you put him in a car seat? And how did you strap the car seat in? When he did that, he transformed from the guy you see here to a father. That child became right there.
So
in
you had
front
the real child in the courtroom?
No.
Oh, but this is just the imagination.
Imagination.
You're good at that, Tyrone.
We're just using his imagination. Because what happens when you use your imagination, that child becomes real, and that audience who've all had children and they put in a car seat can relate to it. And he became human to them, and it was somebody who they were now started to cheer for, you know?
Right.
As you know, we got to make an emotional connection with the
Right.
jury and our
Right.
client.
So the 2-year-old you put in the car seat, the 7-year-old you just put next to the 2-year-old.
No, she was able to get in the back seat by herself.
She big.
She can get in there by herself.
Okay. All right. All right. So the kids are seeing all this.
Kids see it.
Are they screaming when this is going on? Are they calm or in shock themselves?
My daughter was in shock. My daughter's bright. She's aware of everything. Right now, she's 8 now. She's an honor roll student. She wants to go to Texas A&M to become an attorney.
Wow.
She's sharp.
She's sharp. I mean,
Focused.
yes.
Can I tell you a story? One day, he and his kids were in the office, and his daughter, she sit there. She's kind of quiet. And as they were leaving out, she had written me a note, said, "Thank you for helping my dad."
Oh, isn't that so sweet? Oh, that is so
Now,
sweet.
here's what's scary, Viv. Here's what's scary. It didn't matter whether he had won or lost. They still were saying thank you.
Oh, that is, and we
that's
we
scary.
never get that.
That's scary.
We never get that.
That's
Everybody's
scary.
like, do more, don't have a life. My father's life is the only life you have to save.
Right.
We don't care about you.
Forget about
You're supposed
everybody
to do
else.
it. And you're supposed to do it. And you're supposed to do it for us.
Right.
Because he didn't do it.
We're entitled.
We're entitled. We're entitled to that.
So that was scary. And not only that, Viv, as we go to court, he was like, well, Mr. Moncrieffe, maybe I should take that deal. Maybe I should take that deal. I said, well, no.
Now, you know that the deal you're talking about taking of 60 years is life.
40. It was 40.
Oh, 40. Okay, 40.
I was looking at 40-year deal. So.
And I was wrestling. 20. She'll be 28. My son, he'll be 22. And my other son, he'll be 26. And I do 20. I'll come out, I'll be in my 50s. And I was just wrestling with it. Like, I kept telling, hey, Tyrone, just take the deal. Mr. Moncrieffe, just take the deal. And he would hang up on me quick.
Yeah.
He'd tell me, you talk too much, I have something to do. And he would hang up and he just wouldn't.
What was your feeling on that, Tyrone?
My feel was that we had a shot because this guy's character was so bad compared to his character. I think that if nothing else, we get a hung jury on it.
Right.
If nothing else. And I just thought it was worth fighting. If you're going to go down, let's go down fighting, you know?
And one of the things we enjoy as lawyers, never to try a murder case, but what we enjoy are clean clients that have no prior record, who have lived their life the best they could, because that's a story that a jury can relate to.
Right.
And so that's what we want.
And he had worked hard over his years. He'd gone to work. He'd gone to school. He had good work ethic. Jurors could relate to, you know, and I felt comfortable telling the story. So I said, if we're going to go down, let's just go down with a good fight.
So were there any drugs in the decedent's system?
Yes, that's a good
alcohol?
point. The autopsy report showed alcohol was 3 times the legal limit. So he was
From the time
wired
we
up.
got him.
Yeah, he was wired up.
Wow, just on alcohol.
Just on alcohol, and you know,
Which
so
was
that helped.
consistent with what you said. He had Blurry
Blurry
and
eyes.
you smell the alcohol
Smell-
reeking off his
Irate behavior.
irate.
Right. Everything was connected to exactly what he said. So that was perfect. Just perfect, you know?
And had he said that to the police officer that day, that he smelled like alcohol?
He didn't say that.
No.
He didn't say that.
When you're in shock, you don't even think about that.
You don't even think about
I
it.
couldn't even remember his name.
Right. Matter of fact, that was good too because during his statement, he didn't remember his name. Been knowing the guy, what, 6 years?
Yeah, and the officer asked me his name. I was like, I didn't realize that until trial.
Yeah, and well, you saw the video, and so
Yeah.
I didn't realize this guy's name.
Yeah, that shows that you were in shock.
He was in shock, in a state of shock, which is tell your clients, and I tell mine, do not talk to police in that state because you don't know what
And
happened.
I never understood how to frame it until now. I have a
Right.
client going through that right now, and he's going to counseling behind killing someone in a situation. And I've just held off with him talking to the police.
Right.
Because, first of all, it never works out good,
Right.
but I never understood why it didn't work out good. And now
Right.
I'm understanding it because you are in shock. So you can't,
are
you
in
need some
shock.
time to process it,
Right.
to talk to a therapist about it, get
Right.
it out, kind of
Right.
play it in your mind, because you don't want to play that in your mind. That's a horrible event.
It is.
Taking someone's life. So you start blocking things out and seeing things in an imaginary way so you can deal with it. So
Start lying to yourself.
you start lying to yourself, yeah, in
Right,
an
right.
imaginary way,
Right.
and to make it worse than what it is instead of just the fear of the moment.
Right.
You know,
And Viv, another thing too, it's like being in an automobile accident. You don't really know what happened.
you don't know what happened.
It happens so
They
fast.
happen
boom.
so quickly. All you know, you
Right.
tried to avoid it and it happened.
There it is.
That's all you know.
Boom. You can't assess what happened. So
Right.
it is best to sit back and calculate it a while before you make any statements because it can come back. They said a statement will be used against you. It sure will be.
Right.
So do you think the reason why they charged you 8 days later, I think, well, wait a minute, they charged you on the 30th and happened on
days
the,
later.
2 days later.
Yeah.
So the reason why they charged you 2 days later was because of your statement? Because they didn't have the autopsy back
They
in 2
didn't.
days.
I think my statement.
Yeah, but they didn't have the autopsy back, but the detective knew where he had been shot.
Gotcha.
You see what I mean? And that was the story, and they said no. You know.
Right.
So it was, once again, your statement. What you talk and try
So
to
what
be
you
helpful.
said was used against you, basically.
Right.
Absolutely.
If you hadn't said anything, well, they might still would have.
They still would have charged him
They
with
maybe
something.
would have charged them,
Right,
but
right.
but had they? Do you know if at that time had they canvassed the neighborhood, like all these people irate at the scene, had they taken statements from any of those people?
They had not. This was not a very thoroughly done investigation. It was shabby, so to speak. They didn't know that he was a gang member, that, there were other gang members out there. We had to go back and really pull up his aggressive habits,
And how, as a lawyer, do you get the victim, the dead person's, I'll say the complainant, the dead person's record in when they're not there to testify? So how did you get that
Not
in?
so much, because I had people to come in and talk about who knew him.
Okay.
his
But why is
history.
that relevant since he's dead?
It's relevant only because it shows who had the tendency to be the aggressor.
Okay.
Even if they didn't, I could call witnesses in, for example, even if he didn't know what some of the aggressive acts were. For example, he had attacked a 74-year-old man, beat him with a board. He had attacked women. He had
Was the beating the 74-year-old man with the board recent?
Yeah, the state witnesses opened the door to that.
yeah,
But was it recent, like a year before
within
the
a
shooting?
year. It was
yeah.
within a
Few
year,
weeks.
right? Yeah,
Wow.
that was a few weeks. Right?
And had the police been called in that situation?
The man was scared. I
He was
asked him
scared.
to call, and he wouldn't. He was
Did the man suffer the type of injuries that took him to the hospital?
Yeah, he could. He's actually my grandmother's yard man.
Wow.
Right. And he was scared. A lot of these people were scared of him. But I had one lady to come in, and she too would come back to the neighborhood to see this old lady, same lady that he would go see. And I asked her, give me one word to describe this person. She said, menace. That was the one word to describe this human being.
Wow.
And people were just afraid to come in there because of him. So, we were able to bring in witnesses to attest to that,
Were you able to bring in the decedent's actual criminal record?
It was it was brought in through some of the witnesses who the state called. They said, well, we know he's been in prison for, so when they opened the door, I just rolled right with it.
Yeah, he hit him with the 2x4, but
Yeah.
he didn't kill him.
Yeah, that type thing.
29-year-old.
But why would a prosecutor bring those people in?
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't know. I don't know. Why would you bring in witnesses to say that?
We were saying he was a gang member, so he brought in some members of the gang who said he was really not such a bad guy.
But did they admit he was in a gang?
Yeah, they admit that he was in a gang. I mean, this is a gang member. What was it, Crips?
Yeah.
Crips?
Was he an old Crip or a young Crip?
Old Crips. He was older.
Crip, 29 years old. The other one was 38. The other one was 42.
Yeah, so they got older Crips coming in also.
Wow.
And here's what was interesting, Bill. I asked the Crips when they come in, I said, what do you do for a living? Nothing.
Oh,
what,
wow.
What do you do for a living? Nothing. Just hanging out there. I mean, you 42-year-old man.
How do you support yourself?
How do you support yourself? We know what the answer was.
They answered that. One of them did.
What'd he say?
I sell crack.
I sell crack. I'm a drug
So the state called in
the
witnesses
state
and said that they
brings
sell
in
crack?
witnesses, right, exactly. So
That's what he said. I sell crack.
the state, Viv,
Yeah.
the state was so cocky with the fact that he had been shot 7 times in the back.
Mr. Moncrieffe, a good lawyer, but he's not telling the story. I was shocked when he asked him, "Are you married?" Yes. Have kids? Yes. Where you work? I sell crack.
Sell crack, right?
I was in my seat like,
Yeah, and I think the jury did the same thing.
and they did this. I looked at them and they were like, one guy was like, "Oh my."
Yeah, right. That's what was going on.
How many of those witnesses did the state bring in?
2. They brought in 2.
One sold crack and the other one just said he did nothing.
They sit under the tree all day,
Sit under the
drinking
tree
beer,
all-
watching cars go
Right.
by.
Yeah.
They said that?
That's right.
You think that was rehearsed or that was just the
No,
natural
that was just
answer?
natural. I just think when we brought in the fact that this guy was a gang member, they thought, well, let's bring in some gang members to show he really wasn't that bad of a guy. And
Now tell me, in your presentation, did you bring them in first or did you have your client testify first?
They were first.
they were first. They
was the
came in
state.
first. They brought them in first.
The state brought them in, okay.
Right.
But what about, you brought his witnesses in after him though, right?
Right.
To
After
testify
him,
as to his character.
His witnesses came in. I brought in U.S. Marshal, attorneys, and
2 police officers.
2 police officers.
One person
from
who
all these
graduated
people
from
had gone to
forensic
school with
science
him.
school.
Yeah, in criminal justice, they'd all gone to school together at Sam Houston.
How many did you bring, 5?
We had about 6, didn't we?
5 or 6.
5 or 6 witnesses total. You know.
Okay,
people
so
from the main-
obviously when you bring in witnesses for your client's character, they can just testify to his truthfulness and how they know him.
Right.
Were you ever able to sneak in any more details?
Well, the majority of it was the fact, little subtle things, like they all went to the grandmother's house, and one of the ladies who said this guy was a menace when he came in the community said, I wouldn't go over to the lady's house unless I saw Brandon's car there. Because if I saw him there, I felt comfortable.
I'm the
Right.
police of the
I was,
neighborhood.
You know, if I saw Brandon's car, then I would go by. If I didn't see Brandon's car, I would just keep going by. You know.
Well, what about your grandmother? How did she live in that community?
But, I mean,
Like, how did that guy not attack her, or how was her dealings with him?
well, my grandmother, she
No, she's talking about the lady who you went back to see.
The woman who
Not
you went to see. I'm sorry, not your
The one you
grandmother.
thought called
okay.
your grandmother.
Well, she's kind of, it's a weird situation to describe. Her home is like everyone goes there.
Yeah.
So she's kind of like, mess with her and you'll deal with everybody.
Right.
The whole community will come down on
She was the matriarch of the whole neighborhood.
But she is my godmother, like really my godmother. The rest of them are just hanging out.
So the decedent would not have gone and tried to attack her like they
No,
attacked
no,
the
no.
old man with the book, like he
No,
attacked the
oh
old
no,
man.
no.
I mean, it's not because she's badass. It's because you just
She's
don't mess
that-
with her.
She
just
was
don't-
loved.
Yeah, you don't mess with her. She's off limits.
Yeah.
Didn't have to lock her door. You know.
Did she live alone?
No, her son lived there with her.
And she was senile too.
Yeah.
She was senile, so she couldn't be brought in as a witness because she was there, had walked in the house when all of this stuff erupted. You know.
Was her son there?
I'm not sure. I don't even remember.
He was inside.
He was inside.
Yeah, he had stuff
Okay.
inside also.
Wow. How did your children deal with this afterwards? Did they need therapy?
We got
did they-
therapy from MHMRA. I called a therapist out, explained the situation. They sent a good therapist out. They sent several, and we talked. And
Did they give you therapy too?
they gave me therapy too. I took some therapy. You know, I worked there before, so it was difficult. It was difficult watching my daughter behavior. Just trying to see if she's gonna do different acts of violence or acting out. But she's tough. I'm telling you, she's pretty tough, and so she's resilient. And my 2-year-old didn't really understand.
Right. He's too
But the 7-year-old, she knew. And here's another thing: I never asked her what happened.
Gotcha.
Right.
I never, even till today, I've never questioned what she saw. I let the therapist and the psychologist deal with that. But I've never gone over that situation with her.
Did the therapist or psychologist suggest to you that you should talk to her, or did they say don't talk to her about it?
Don't talk to her.
Let her talk to you if she's going to talk about it.
Yeah, because it may be one of those things to where she'll just suppress it, and she'll be. I think that she understands that this man said he was going to kill us. She know her daddy. You know, I'm her daddy.
Right.
I'm not going to let anything happen to my children.
Right.
My children grab me. If they don't like something on TV, they squeeze my hand. If they don't feel comfortable in the grocery store, they squeeze my hand. You know, I worked at the prison, so we have all kind of sirens, bells, and whistles when they let me know that they don't feel daddy's a protector.
Right.
And so she understands that this guy threatened to kill not only me, her little brother, her mom who's not even there, and then he starts attacking her dad. And her dad, she understands what happened, but again, 7 years old.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
So we'd love it if we got some callers. So you're welcome to call in and talk about what you think about the show or any comments at 713-807-1794. So Tyrone, tell me how long this trial lasted and
How long did we? Was it 4 days?
Picked the jury Monday, got the verdict Friday.
Yeah. It's
wow,
been
that's a
4
week.
days.
That's
It's a week.
exhausting though. That's exhausting.
It is. And as you know, it's a strain on you mentally and physically. You know?
Definitely.
Absolute strain. And
Did anybody try the case with you?
no, I tried it by myself. It was one of those where I shouldn't have done it. Viv,
Not
you know,
even to pick the jury? You didn't even have help with
somebody.
you?
No, you did.
I did it all by
People were
myself.
asking, hey, Tyrone, if I'm here.
And let me
Right.
tell you what's crazy. I have had a lot of young lawyers help me. It's better to do it by yourself. I mean, because sometimes.
You think so?
I mean, well, not the voir dire ever.
Right.
The voir dire, because I'm not good at being the last one to talk. The defense lawyer is the last one to talk to the jurors.
Right.
And then you have to set your strikes. Well, you're still in, assessment mode. I can't.
Right.
I don't have it down like that. But I'm just saying, I had a real serious trial a few years ago in Fort Bend, and I asked for some help on the listserv, and I got 2 lawyers to help me, and one of them lost the tape, the CD. They were supposed to be looking at it in between the break.
Right.
Broke my laptop. It couldn't come out. I mean, it was like, why did I let them? They should have just been sitting in the gallows watching. So sometimes if a lawyer has not been through the stress of a trial,
Exactly.
it's difficult for them to sit with you because they add more stress to you as
Absolutely.
the lawyer.
That's true. And your focus, your adrenaline and everything is up here. And everything's so tense mode, the stress
Everything
mode.
is so stressful.
You don't want
It's
to
life
like-
or death. We know that if we make one mistake, our client can get convicted.
Right.
And so we want to give it our all. For that 5 days, you're totally focused. I mean, like when I was a single mother, I'm still a single mother, but my daughter's 21. I didn't know what was going on. When she was 7, my life belonged to my clients. I didn't know where she was, what happened.
Right.
My life was on automatic pilot, and it was just kind of like shooting somebody. I know she's there. I know she's supposed to be there. I know she's supposed to have been picked up
Right.
from school. I'm just kind of walking through it because my whole mind is focused on saving this person's life. Because if I make one mistake, they're going to prison.
Absolutely. And
It's a lot of pressure.
people don't realize
It's a lot of pressure.
asking the wrong question
Ooh.
can turn that case around.
Ooh.
Putting the wrong exhibit in.
Ooh. Ooh.
It's stressful,
Ooh.
and unless you have family members who can relate to that, it is
Ooh.
very, very difficult.
Unless you have young lawyers that can relate to that, because people
Right.
want to learn and they think shadowing you. I mean, I hate lawyers when they ask me again, they shadow me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I let young lawyers be with me, but they don't realize they're more trouble than they're worth.
Yeah, don't ask me
Especially
any
if you're
questions.
in trial.
Right.
One of the things that used to happen when I'd be in serious murder trials and I had a young lawyer sitting with me, then the prosecutors would play on that young lawyer. So if I'm doing something that they don't like, because I'm fighting like hell.
Right.
And I might be calling a prosecutor to testify.
Right,
Because
right.
that's the prosecutor before this prosecutor, and they found out some Brady. Then the other lawyers are asking the other prosecutor who's trying to be their friend, my lawyer, second chair, who's trying to be their friend, what's wrong with Vivian? What's wrong with Miss King? She always got an attitude. They trying to mess her up so she can defend. She don't know what to do. And then they looking at me, it's stressful.
Oh, it is.
It's
It is.
stressful.
And people don't realize,
It's stressful.
we deal and we get to
The
know
young
them.
lawyer can cause stress for you as the
Right.
lawyer. So sometimes it's better when you got something that stressful, like Tyrone said, to just fly it along because you have nobody to blame but yourself. You have nobody to distract you. you know, you can just stay on task.
Unless you have a lawyer experience too.
Unless it's experience. The last time when I had those 2 lawyers with me and they was losing stuff and in my way and asking me questions, this ain't the time to teach. You got to take your questions and let me ask you later. Or they're trying to whisper in your ear. You can't talk to me while I'm in trial. I don't even let my client talk to me when I'm in trial.
That's him.
Oh, hell no, don't talk to me.
Right.
Because while you're talking to me because you heard one thing, or can we hear what they're saying now?
No, we
Because the
can't.
trial is still going on.
We can't.
So you can't talk. I mean, our whole game is listening. We're listening so we know
Thank
how
you.
to react. So
Thank
if you're talking to me, then a whole trial is going on, and they might have just said, you know, I shot the sheriff.
Right.
You know, and on the next one I can't say, but he didn't shoot the deputy because I didn't hear him say I shot the sheriff.
I didn't hear him say.
I didn't hear him because you're talking to me. So when I start off, I tell my client, write it down. Here's a pen and paper. Don't talk to me.
That's his most.
Do not talk to me.
We got Mr. Moncrieffe put a personal touch on it. It got to he gave me the pen and paper after he just finally in trial. Man, shut up.
Yeah, stop talking to me.
Right.
He just told me shut up. And I was
Because what
like,
you don't realize is
Yep.
that you feel like you got something so important to say. First of all, we know everything. We
Right.
know the facts, and we just heard it just like you. So
Right.
you don't have to repeat what somebody just said
Right.
because you heard it. Tyrone heard it, and he's trying to hear the next thing they say. You
Right.
didn't hear the next thing they say because you're so stuck on what they just said.
And here's another thing, Viv, as you know, we're not only listening to what they say,
You're watching
watching how they say it.
how they say it.
Because
And everybody's reaction to it.
Right. You're watching it. A person can say "I love you" and say it one way, but their body says something else.
Exactly.
You've got to be able to read that and come back and respond with a different question.
Exactly. You got to know. You got to know. And so, therefore, a young lawyer is like having your client sitting there talking to you. They're talking to you.
Right.
And young lawyers don't know how to try cases. And so
Right.
what they usually do when they cross-examine people is when the prosecutor asks their questions to the prosecutor's witnesses, most young lawyers just come back and ask the same questions over again.
Right. Rehearse it. Rehash it.
They rehash it. We don't do that.
Right.
And so we don't really care what a young lawyer is saying because their way of trying cases is they're just talking to be talking.
Right.
They're not making
Right.
points. They don't have a strategy. They don't have a whole.
They're not telling
they
the
don't know
story.
how to they don't know how to tell the story, and they don't know how to execute yet. They're learning, and they're
Right.
going to be great.
Excellent
They
point.
just don't. They don't know how yet.
Excellent
And so why should we be listening to anything they have to say? They need to be just sitting there
Sitting,
watching.
listening, watching.
I want them in the gallows, really. I don't even want them next to me if they're young. And if you have a comment at the breaks and you've taken notes, then you can give me your notes or you can talk. But I can give you a teaching moment later. You keep notes. But there's nothing that you can say because this is a game of practice and experience. You know what I mean? And that's what people don't
Viv,
understand.
I love that. Love that point. You cannot get this in the store. You can't go buy this.
You can't get it from law school.
You can't get it from law school. You have to have been there to do it.
It has
Been
to be
there.
a been there, done that.
Right.
Wait a minute, been there, done that, and messed up. Wait a minute, and I messed up before,
Messed up,
so
right.
I ain't never making that mistake again.
I'm not never.
I mean, it's been a long time since I made some mistakes, but it was a long time ago. But I'm just saying, they kept me up at night. And
Right.
those are the lessons that young lawyers can't learn. You got to learn it yourself. You got to make that mistake.
Right.
Now, what we can do is teach them not to make some of the mistakes we've made.
Right.
To jump through 5 or 10 years of hurdles.
Right.
But
But
they
you're
can't
right.
help us.
The-
But they think they're helping you. You can't help somebody. You can't
they
help.
think they're
You
learning.
can't. It's like help. It's like saying someone right out of high school playing basketball can go help. Curry, LeBron James and Curry. You can't help them.
No,
you
you
might be good, but you ain't them.
You're not
Because
them.
they have championship experience.
Right.
So they know how to do it in a tight. They know something, and that's what kind of lawyers we are. We're champions, and it's because we've put the time in. We've gone through messing up and taking the wrong shot and thinking this is going to work when that doesn't work.
Right.
So we already know, tried and true, we done screwed up. Just like Curry's made mistakes, LeBron has made mistakes,
Right,
but then
right.
they've learned from their mistakes.
Right.
So no person right out of high school, even though they're a great basketball player, LeBron, when he got out of high school, wasn't a champ like he is now, even though he
Two
was
different
good.
people.
It's two different people.
That word
So,
champ is a good word to use because during a trial, I was totally calm. Once he started, Mr.
on voir dire, when he starts with the jury, you can calm down. You
we
can
had
sit
never
down,
really
baby.
had a conversation before.
Not a real conversation.
No, it was just tell me what happened, and I was never in your office longer than.
We were in and out.
Yeah.
In and out. But
Well, it's good that you trusted him enough because one of the things that is kind of nerve-wracking for lawyers is when your client and I'm still learning to deal with this, wants to tell you the same story over and
We've
over
heard it.
and over.
We've
But
heard
what
it.
they don't understand, what y'all don't understand is we're smart. So the one time we hear it, we got it.
We got it.
We got
We don't
it.
need to-
We don't need it. After that, we have to apply the law to it and learn how to tell your story as a person.
Right.
There you go. Exactly. There are things we're looking at, for example, to humanize you. We realize that the law itself is not enough, so I have to humanize you so that other people feel comfortable with you.
Right.
Because when they walk into that courtroom, you're a murderer.
And you're a big menacing man.
Yeah, you're a large guy, you're a murderer. So the images of a murderer comes into their minds.
When they put that up on the screen during
that?
jury selection,
What? Oh, the
murder.
PowerPoint.
and it's
PowerPoint.
flicking, and I'm like, oh my God, turn that off.
Oh.
They wouldn't turn it off.
Oh, do you do a PowerPoint in response, or you still do it the old-fashioned way?
But I may change it, do a little bit, but I kind of the old-fashioned way.
Did you do? So you did do a PowerPoint?
I did
Turned
not.
it off.
I did not. I did not.
He turned the.
You turned theirs off.
I turned that off.
He turned it
Oh
off.
hell yeah! You
Totally
don't have.
calmed me
Oh
down.
no!
Because it was flicking murder, and I was like, oh
He
my
was
God.
they were flicking murder up there?
No. They just had
It-
PowerPoint.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
but it bounces around murder.
Yeah.
It was bouncing around. I
Well,
was
that's the way they had it set up, you know. But the main thing is we have to diffuse the atmosphere of the room, you know. And that's what she was just telling you about. People walk in thinking if it's a murder or a child case.
Oh, child molester.
Oh my God. The
Oh, my
atmosphere
God.
of the room is such that
You're guilty until proven innocent.
you're guilty.
You're
You're
guilty.
absolutely
You're guilty until proven innocent.
So if that jury cannot emotionally connect to you, we're in trouble from the start, you know. And Vivian has been there.
Ooh, how many times have I been there? It's scary. I have a couple of trials coming up in like a week or 2 weeks, and they're federal.
Oh,
a
my
couple
God.
of federal trials,
Right.
back to back. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And federal is a whole other.
Different arena.
But we got phone calls. So caller, thank you for calling Truth and Justice with Vivian King. Please turn your volume down and state your question or comment.
Yes, Ms. King, how you doing? This is Rodney Blake. For the lawyer and to Mr. Wood, I'm understanding Mr. Wood saying that he was in a state of shock, and I can see that. But at the same time, could one turn a state of shock and to say it was like he was mental disturbed or ill at the same time? Is that the same thing?
I'm gonna let Tyrone answer that.
No. He was a state of shock of what happened. It's just like you're in an automobile accident. You're in a state of shock. But you have your mental facilities. He knew what his mental facilities was. He knew he was shooting someone, and he was shooting them on purpose because he was defending himself and his family. So it wasn't like he was totally out of his mind. He knew what he was doing, but he was in a state of shock in the process of the shooting. Okay?
So I guess it would be, sir, like have you ever had something so shocking that you tell the story one way, but then when you go back home that night and you go to sleep and it's still bothering you, start playing it kind of in slow motion back in your mind, what
Right.
people said, what people did, and you realize, damn, that's really what happened.
Right.
What you thought happened instantaneously is really not what happened.
Right. Or you may have left something out. Very important.
Something very important
I forgot
out.
to say this.
I forgot that he popped me upside my head,
Right.
and that I can't run, and I have my children in the car. All I can say is, I shot him. I
Right.
shot him. He might go tell the police, I shot him. I
Right.
shot him.
Right.
But he's not saying what led up to the shooting because you're not thinking of a whole story. You're just trying, you might just be, being in shock is not the same thing as being mentally incapacitated.
Right.
But when
Exactly.
something shocking and tragic happens, your brain starts shutting certain things down so you can live with it, so you can
Right.
deal with taking someone's life.
Right.
So it's not a normal occurrence.
Right. And you got to realize too, caller, that this man he's shot is laying on the ground. He's known this man for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
This is a human being he sees dying in front of him. So all of this is going through his mental state when he talks to the police. Okay?
All right, then.
You still,
I can congratulate you on defending Mr. Woods. And Ms. King, as always, I get very upset when I can't watch your show, but you got a good thing going on. I appreciate you. Thanks a lot.
I sure appreciate you watching, sir. And hopefully, if you don't see some of them, you can go to YouTube.com and go to my channel, Vivian R. King. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your support.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, Viv, as you were saying, though, having young lawyers sit with you sometimes is not always the best thing in the world. If Vivian King is sitting with me, I'm comfortable. But if I got a lawyer sitting with me and I got to answer questions constantly, and they think we're being rude, but we're not. We just can't answer
because you're in battle
right now.
mode. It's like
Right.
you're dressed for battle, and then somebody's just sitting with you,
Yeah.
just chilling. You know what I mean? They playing on their cell phone. They're distracted. I mean, I'm just telling you. I realized, like a couple of years ago, like I said, I had this great battle in Fort Bend County, and I had Tina Watson sit with me, Attorney Tina Watson, former prosecutor, long-term 25-year lawyer. I was like, oh, this is what I've been missing. I've been missing this.
A real lawyer to sit with you.
Lawyer, experienced lawyer that's been in the battle. It's like she's been to Iraq 5 times, okay?
Right,
and I've
right,
been to Iraq 5
right,
times.
right,
So
right.
we can get that together. But if you've just been playing cowboy and Indian in the backyard, you can't go to Iraq with me. You can't get in that battle with me.
But not only that, Viv, you know, they may have 10 witnesses they're bringing in. If you got an experienced lawyer sitting with you, you can say, okay, you get this witness.
You get this
because
witness.
Mentally, you've got to handle each witness, and that's a different mental gymnastics, each one, you know?
Right. You can tell them to, or you can give them a topic. So anytime
Take
this witness comes in to talk about DNA,
Right.
you can do that. Or when they come in to talk about the autopsy, you can do that. So your mind doesn't have to be, and you know that they can cover it because
Right.
they've done it 10 times already. They've done it like you have done it a whole bunch of times. They understand the goal and they have won. There are a lot of experienced lawyers who are experienced that I still wouldn't want sitting next to me because they don't win. Because they don't win.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
it's a different mindset of a winner than experience. And it's not that they're winning because they don't win because they're bad. It's just some lawyers start working at 5 or 6 in the evening, and some of us never take off.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you need to be with someone with the same level of intensity that you have.
Yeah.
See, Tyrone never takes off.
Never.
I never take off. So you need to be with someone that has that level of intensity.
Can I add something? You said a brilliant word when you said mindset. I was talking to a group of young lawyers the other day. To win cases, you got to walk in with a mindset that I'm looking to win.
Right.
The state's evidence, let's see this.
Right.
The photograph that the states have, that's not their case.
Right.
That's not their evidence.
Right.
That's your evidence.
Right.
You walk in and say, wait a minute, these photographs are helping me, not just for the state. So I think when the mindset when you walk in says a lot to how you're going to pull that case out. If you walk in thinking, oh my God, the man is shot 7 times in the back, we're going to lose. You're going to lose.
Right.
But if you walk in saying, how is it possible that we can win this case? Those answers start coming to you. You know?
Right.
And I think your mindset is the perfect word to use, Viv.
Right.
How to tell your story.
And how to tell your story and to make sure that you can get that evidence in legally. Did you feel that the prosecution or the state ever withheld any evidence that was important?
I don't think so. I think the state was so comfortable with the fact that this man had been shot so many times in the back that it was slam dunk. Matter of fact, he said that a couple of times. This is slam dunk. I think in his opening statement he made to the point where it's real easy.
Yeah,
The man shot in the back 7 times.
Yeah, he would sit at the table and stare at me, almost trying to bait me into.
Right. It was
wow.
it was just slam dunk. We don't need to do much because, you know, how do you defute the fact this man shot in the back 7 times? You know.
Wow.
So I just think he was so cocky that it was.
Wow.
I don't have to do much because it's over with. you
Did
know?
the prosecutor have a second chair?
Yes.
Yes, they had. She did. Females prosecutor.
Yeah, he did.
So it was 2 against 1?
Yeah, and which is always a strain.
That's always a strain. Did they divide up any of the witnesses?
They did. She did a few, and
Yeah.
he did some.
So he was kind of teaching her?
Or
was she experienced?
She was teaching
She
him.
was teaching
she was
him.
She was
the number
teaching him.
one.
Yeah. Oh,
She was the
okay.
number one. He was the number 2. She was
Gotcha.
the number 1. So he was learning under her, so to
Did
speak.
they split up any of the closing argument, or was it all his?
It was all him.
It was all his.
His closing argument was.
And he did a good closing argument. I must give him credit. He
Yeah.
kind of went to the weave of the story.
Yeah.
He did a good closing argument.
Closing
Really did.
argument.
He did a closing argument.
It was strong.
Oh, it was strong. It scared you, huh?
I was in the
you
back.
thought you were guilty, huh?
I was in the back to the tape. I don't know. Appeal. It's strong an argument.
Well,
But it was strong, but it
It wasn't
Like
factually
substance.
correct.
Yeah, it started fading away as the jury deliberated, because when you looked at everything, it was only one time in trial that I actually thought, we in trouble, and it was a time when they couldn't find my cane
yeah, right.
on the picture, and if you ever see Mr. Moncrieffe, he keeps 2 cups of water on the table. And those are his waters. I got so nervous, I took one, and I started. And he turned around, like, "That's my water." But after he started processing with the officers, and I'm not here to bash police officers. They have a lot of work to do, but he was able to get through that they missed a lot of things and they didn't process. They never said that I was disabled.
All right. They left a lot of things out.
But they knew you were disabled.
But
Right.
the one officer tried to
say that he wasn't.
combative with him and say, no, he's not disabled.
And then we had to show them a photograph with the disabled signs and all that on his vehicle.
Right.
So,
Well, you made the officer also demonstrate how I was walking.
Right,
And he
right.
got up and waddled like a disabled guy. And he
Yeah.
finally had to admit, okay, yeah, he was disabled.
So tell me, we got 3 minutes, believe it or not. Tell me why you believe that, what was so good about their closing argument, Tyrone, from your
I
perspective?
thought as you sit down, he came with the standpoint of Mr. Moncriffe is a great storyteller, and he's like a magician. He have you looking over here, but the reality is everything is happening
Oh,
over
okay.
here.
He called you out like that.
Oh, he did. He's a magician. He's going to have you thinking of this and blah, blah, blah. He's a great storyteller and all that. So he thought what I know as prosecutors, and I hope no prosecutor watch this, but
I doubt it.
what they do
But I'd love for them to. I'd love for them to come on. I've had the police chief, but I have never had a prosecutor.
what they do is take my sting away. And they tell Juror, Mr. Moncriffe is a great storyteller. So when I get up and tell a story, it takes the sting out of it.
Oh,
and that's what
yeah.
he did in final argument. Oh,
And he went after you.
He went after. He's a great storyteller. He's a great musician with this. But here's what you need to look at. And he kept going back to the shots in the back, etc. So I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty
it was
effective.
strong.
Yeah. And
Look at him, he said it was
plus,
strong.
Viv, they get to finish last. We can't answer.
No, you can't answer what they said.
We can't answer anything. We had to sit back and just bite.
Ooh, and just bite your tongue.
Bite your tongue. As a matter of fact, let me just say this. We got, 2 minutes?
Yeah, you can have it.
When the jury came back with the verdict, we're standing up.
Scared to death.
Yeah, and the judge reason says not guilty. And I thought he said guilty.
Guilty.
Oh,
and
my
I
God.
feel.
And he kind of fell down, but he heard it was not guilty.
Oh, you knew what they
Yeah,
said.
he knew it was not guilty, but I didn't. I'm
Can I
like,
say the
wait a minute,
last
what
part?
did he say?
This month?
Yeah.
I was on the ground.
Oh, you fell on the ground?
I
bro?
fell down.
Oh, not in the chair, but
No,
you fell
I
on the
fell
ground?
down, and he said, "Don't worry about it. We gonna appeal it." I looked up. I said,
Appeal
it."
it. I like that verdict.
What? And he was like, "Did he
I'm
say
appeal
guilty?"
not guilty?
I was like, "Mr. Hunker, he said not guilty." and then I
OMG.
told him, "Wait, did he say guilty?"
Oh, no.
And so the judge had to say, "Not guilty."
Oh, he had to say it again. Oh,
We
that,
both were confused.
that was Judge Thomas?
Yeah, Judge
Oh,
Thomas.
my
Yeah,
God.
it's-
Oh,
We
my
both
God.
got
But it show
confused.
you how tense and how stressful this is. Isn't
Right.
that, isn't
We
that a
didn't-
demonstration of Tyrone?
That was his
After
first
all
mistake.
this work,
Yep.
he's thinking, oh, hell, the judge said guilty.
Yeah.
And he didn't hear the not guilty.
Yeah.
That's how
tense.
how stressed you were.
How stressed I was. We were
my
just stressed on out.
I mean,
you know.
and that just shows how much we're in shock as lawyers. I mean, because you're in the
Right.
when they start reading that verdict, it's almost like a train wreck or shooting somebody. I mean, it's like shocking because you know you're about to get hit with something
Right.
that you might never want to live with.
Yeah,
OMG.
And you're preparing yourself for the worst.
And you're preparing yourself for the worst because you got to
those-
start up the punishment phase right after that.
right,
Start
right.
finding your witnesses.
Right.
You know, talk about how you're going to get them to give the lightest sentence.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
you gotta
Mitigation and everything else.
Mitigation. You got to start thinking about all of that. OMG.
It's a strain.
So
It's a
you
strain.
thought he said guilty.
I thought it said guilty.
All you heard was the end.
All I heard
Oh,
was the
my
end,
God.
guilty.
So you weren't even looking at the judge's lips. Because if so, you'd
The
have
way
seen it.
the way he was sitting in his computer, I couldn't see him for some reason. The way I missed his actual, but I heard guilty.
Yeah, but you heard it.
I heard it.
And you passed out. You fell off the chair on the ground.
Yep.
How'd they get your big butt up?
I had to help him get up.
Yeah, he helped me get up.
OMG. OMG.
Yeah.
But it was an
OMG.
experience. I was so happy for him and his family, and he can go on with his life. And it was like, wow, man, you know, I didn't need nothing else. I could walk on out that courtroom. We both were kind of floating on air.
Oh, I know. That was a good way to start a weekend,
You better believe
Tyrone. That was a good way to start a weekend. I'm getting assigned to wrap up. Wasn't this a great story tonight? Isn't it good when somebody plays the game and wins, okay? He had a great lawyer. He had faith in his lawyer, even though he wanted to give in the towel. This is the thing with you, to giving in the towel. And the thing is,
Right,
if you got
right.
a lawyer that's willing to fight, why don't you go ahead and fight? I mean, you
right.
can always be in prison, but you know you gave it your best. But if you'd have pled guilty to something, it's
Never
a different
would've known.
story. You never
Exactly.
would have known. Thank you for listening to A Not Guilty Verdict of Murder by Tyrone Moncrieffe and Brandon Woods. If you want to know the probable cause, you better look it up now because it's going to be expunged in about 30 days. Good night. Good night. Thank you for tuning in again tonight. We have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with a crime. This is a show where